Isaac Hart presents Ghost in the Museum. Episode 7. Here There Be Dragons. From the desk of Dr. Stephen Vernon, lecturer in early medieval studies at Christ's College, Cambridge, 26th of February 2024. The collections of the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge include the papers of several eminent former professors of the university, donated on their deaths in post for preservation and future study, comprising correspondences, manuscripts, and assorted other ephemera amassed throughout their academic careers. These paperwork estates are rarely accessed by archivists, and rarer still displayed in the museum itself, the rough notes of long-dead lecturers of little interest to the public, except in the cases of said lecturer being a famous name. Monty James comes to mind as an exemplar of this type, as does Tolkien and Lewis. This is a pity, for a discerning doctoral student in search of a worthy and original topic of research would find themselves well served in undertaking an overview of the corpus of any one of these collections. It is an untapped seam of historical information rarely found within academia, an opportunity to immerse oneself into the inner world of some of the most esteemed minds of their respective fields, and to gain a fuller understanding of their methods and motivations. Such was the case in my own research. Some time ago, I was undertaking a review of the collected letters of one Marion Shepherd, who was Regius Professor of Early Medieval History at Christ's College from 1946 until her death in 1972. Professor Shepherd, an expert in the illuminated manuscripts of the Carolingian Renaissance of the 9th century, was in her own time much respected for her study of the Song of Roland, of which she produced a new translation with footnotes, but her reputation has dimmed in the half-century since her death. This is unfair in my view, given her not insignificant contributions to the study and preservation of primary sources from the reign of Charlemagne, several of which she recovered and restored to museums in France and the Low Countries after they were looted by the Nazis during the Second World War. If Shepherd has been obscured by the passage of time, it is only because a great number of her students, among whom can be counted such luminaries of the field as Argyll, Carstairs and Patel, built on and expanded on her work as a medievalist in their own careers. This legacy abounds to her skill as a teacher as well as a scholar, and yet it remains a painful fact that of the plentiful books Professor Shepherd published in her lifetime, all are now out of print, and extant editions have proved scarce to come by. This is what makes the collection of Shepherd's writings held at the Fitzwilliam more precious. Shepherd, if her papers are any measure, was as prodigious a writer of letters as she was diligent, keeping duplicates of all the letters she sent out, which allows us a uniquely full picture of her correspondences with colleagues, students, and the occasional academic rival. She was remembered by the few of her students who are still living that I was able to meet as a forthright but somewhat guarded figure, although one who could be perfectly warm and hospitable to those she allowed into her small circle of friends. One elderly gentleman I spoke to, a retired fellow of Gonville and Caius, recalled with great fondness being invited by Shepherd to her rooms at Christ's when she was his doctoral advisor. A discussion of his thesis on the Treaty of Verdun of 843 was prolonged into a pleasant afternoon of tea, scones, and a half-shot of rum that Professor Shepherd was acquainted to keep in her bureau. Shepherd had regaled him at length on her exploits in the aftermath of the war, searching churches in Aachen and Bruges for manuscripts that had been hidden during the German advance. "Of course," she had told him, with what the fellow had described as the professor's customary supercilious air, "I'd done much the same thing after the Great War. Oh yes, there was more than one occasion where we found the same manuscripts hidden in the same places at the very same churches, some 30 years apart." Shepherd had ruefully added that she didn't quite know whether to be relieved or depressed that such precious things had come so close to being lost forever within such a short span of years. The man, of course, had asked the professor about how she had come to be searching war-ravaged Belgium for medieval manuscripts in the early 1920s. Shepherd had paused a moment at the question, he said, and looked out the window of her office at the setting sun, deep in thought. After seeming to compose her thoughts, she replied to him, "I first came over to Belgium with the widows, to lay flowers at the Menin Gate in Ypres, for my fiancé, Robin. He was very dear to me. It is hard to convey in words the sense I got from the old man's recollections that Professor Shepherd's utterance of that name, Robin, had all the rusted disuse of a pair of syllables that had not been spoken together aloud in half a century. There was a confusion there, an unfamiliarity bred of dormancy, but an unmistakable recognition, and perhaps, the man had ventured, the merest ghost of a longing that he had never detected before in the brusque academic, and never, in his experience, detected again, for he did not wish to press her further on the matter. I found this anecdote intriguing to say the least. Shepherd never married and had no children, hence why her papers had passed into the collections of the Fitzwilliam upon her death, so the possibility of a fiancé, let alone the suggestion of a tragic lost love. I must be honest and say that I was quite carried away by the possibilities, and I must make an apology for conducting research from this point on in the spirit of a dramatist rather than that of a sober historian. I had taken loan of Shepherd's papers and other materials to my own chambers at Christ's, Shepherd's own former haunt, where I had been intending to use the material to write an article for the latest volume of the Journal of Medieval History, reappraising her work on Charlemagne and arguing for her inclusion among the inner circle of noted early medievalists. If Eliot Carstairs of all people counts for his dreary multi-volume tome on King Rudolph the Idol of Burgundy, my thinking went, then surely his teacher, Shepherd, merited at the very least equal note for her own contributions, which in my view were presented with much more literary flair. All thoughts of the article, I must confess, were shoved aside for the time being as I set about combing through the professor's correspondences for any mention of this hitherto unknown Robin. However, several hours searching turned up nothing, and I was ready to resign myself to the fact that the fastidious medievalist had never once discussed the man she had once been set to marry to anyone after his death. Understandable, perhaps. For a woman of her generation and education, Shepherd may have thought it uncouth to discuss any sorrow she may have harboured. Then, purely by chance, while leaning on Shepherd's bureau, which had also generously been provided by the museum, I heard a faint click, and a scraping of wood on wood. I looked down to see that a small compartment had opened in the space between the desk and the cabinet. I won't lie and say that this wasn't the Indiana Jones moment that all academics in their heart of hearts know that they were first motivated to join the profession to experience. A secret compartment! The more I discovered about the late Professor Shepherd, the more I liked her. Gingerly pulling out the narrow drawer, I knew within a moment of looking that I had found what I had been searching for. Inside the drawer was a neat pile of faded, yellowing letters with frayed edges and creased across the pages from where they had been folded and unfolded repeatedly. The pile was tied together with a thin, red ribbon, its colour still vivid and flashing amid the dust. Beneath this, written in faded pencil, was the name that I had wagered would be there. Dear Robin. There are fewer heart-stopping moments than you would hope in this line of work, but this was one of those rare days. With utmost care, I lifted the stack of letters from out of the bureau, carrying them with near reverence to my own desk. Instinctively, I turned away the lamp, not wishing to expose the fragile marks on the papers to the full disintegrating glare of the bulb, before gently pulling on one end of the red ribbon, undoing the knot that had sealed the letters away when Shepherd had last sealed up the drawer, never again to open it. There are times, in the life of a historian, that they are given pause, to consider by what right they must reveal to the living world what the dead had wished would be kept hidden. If I have ever entertained such doubts, it was in the hours immediately following my reading of these letters, when I was gripped by a depth of wonder and fear that I was unprepared to experience. It is in the interests of unburdening myself, then, of being the sole carrier of all that I now know, that I present the following direct transcriptions of Professor Shepherd's letters, made by myself in the days following my first reading of them. The implications of what they say, if true, are astonishing. Until they can be disputed or not, then, I ask only for your patience in my presentation of this narrative, and for your understanding of what it is to be young and in love. Longwood Cottage, Ely, Cambridgeshire, 14th of May, 1914.
Dear Robin, I trust this letter finds you in the best of spirits. Your visit last week brought such a joy to my heart, and I am compelled to express my gratitude for the delightful time we spent together. You work ever so hard, even over half-term, my sweet. I must convey my immense appreciation for the warmth with which my parents received you. They speak of your scholarly pursuits with great admiration, assuring me that their approval is not solely due to affection, but also rooted in the promise they see in your future as a scholar. Darling Bobby, the past year has been a treasure with you by my side at Christ's. I never dreamed that I would make such a friend in you, one who would never spurn me for my scholarly aspirations. Your companionship has filled my days with joy. The moments we have shared studying history have become cherished memories, and I eagerly anticipate the many more to come. Your summation of the progress of your novel made a great impression upon Father. Your latest chapter awaits my eager eyes, and I am confident it will showcase the true brilliance that resides within you. Your talent for storytelling is unmatched, and I am genuinely excited to delve into the realms of your imagination once more. In your absence, my thoughts are consumed by the sweet words you spoke, and the tender moments we shared. It is with a heart full of love that I sign off, sending my warmest regards to your dear sister and mother. I do hope that you will have the time to return to St. Edmund's and see them before classes resume for summer term. Until our paths intertwine once more, know that you are ever in my thoughts. Yours devotedly, Marion.
Christ's College, Cambridge, 21st of May, 1914.
To my sweet sheepy. Thank you for your sweet letter this week last. It's been terribly quiet at Hall's, and I must confess that the warmth of your words has been a balm to my heart. I am grateful for every kind letter you've sent my way, each one a treasure that I hold close to my soul. It is ever so odd to see Christ so quiet, yet my days have been far from idle. The Fitzwilliam Museum has been a haven of inspiration, and the 14th century psalters in its reading room have been a true delight to explore. I find solace in the knowledge that you share in my passion for the historical treasures that surround us. The memory of the lecture from Professor James on the abbots of Bury St. Edmunds lingers fondly in my mind. How fortunate we are to have such knowledge of the lost worlds of the past so close at hand. Monty is brilliant, but such a fusty stick in the mud. Me and Park have badgered him to let you come to the Chit Chat Society at Christmas and hear one of his ghost stories, but he has that Victorian mindset and will not countenance women on the campus. His loss. I miss our discussions and the intellectual camaraderie that only you can provide. The prospect of your return for summer term brings a profound sense of anticipation. My heart aches with the absence of your presence, and I eagerly await the day when we can once again share our days, not only as fellow scholars but as two souls bound by a deeper meaning. Your intelligence, your beauty, your good humour, all continue to captivate my heart. I never imagined I could be so fortunate as to meet a woman like you, who inspires me not only in my academic pursuits but also in the matters of the heart. Your motivation is my guiding light as I continue to toil away on my fantastical romance, as you called it, even if it strays from the path of serious scholarship. As long as life endures, know that you occupy the most sacred chamber of my heart. Yours now and for all our days, Robin.
Longwood Cottage, Ely, Cambridgeshire, 30th of June 1914.
Darling Bobby, hello from me, my love. I trust this letter finds you in good spirits and still basking in the success of the recently concluded summer term at Christ's. Congratulations, my love, on the anticipated acclaim your paper on the Wilton diptych and the White Hart iconography of Richard II is sure to receive. Your scholarly endeavours continue to inspire and impress me. I sincerely hope dear Teresa is on the mend, and her chest infection dissipates soon. Please extend my warmest regards to your dear sister and assure her that she remains in my thoughts and prayers. The promise of our impending reunion brings both excitement and impatience. I long for the day when I can convince Father that I am perfectly capable of travelling by train unaccompanied. Soon, my love, I will be by your side in Bury St. Edmunds. We will share our laughter and our stories and our stolen glances. Oh, how I miss you, darling. My nights are incomplete without you beside me. There is a certain serenity that envelops me only when I am by your side, and I eagerly await the chance to experience it again. Your latest chapter of The Star Seeker was a delightful escape into a world of high adventure. Your talent for storytelling is unparalleled. You bring a scholar's eye to the details of your fantasy, and this scholar herself was much enchanted. I must confess, the character of Princess Serona has left me wondering if she might be inspired by a certain someone. If so, consider me greatly flattered. On a sombre note, this morning brought news of the beastly assassination in Sarajevo of the Archduke Ferdinand, as I am certain you have seen. Father and I read about it in the paper, and he expresses deep concern for the potential consequences. It all seems so far away, and so distant from our love. I look around and everyone is enjoying the summer weather. Serbia seems so awfully far away. Until we meet again, my love, hold me in your thoughts, as you always reside in mine. Yours with all my love, Marion.
Bury St Edmunds, Cambridgeshire, 24th of July 1914.
My dearest Sheepy, how my heart aches for the warmth of your presence as I pen down these words. The week you spent with myself and my family was a wonder, and I find myself yearning for those stolen moments of intimacy that meant so much to me. Your absence leaves a void that even the charms of town cannot fill, and you know most of all how much I am charmed by an old church and a crumbled abbey wall. The memory of our time together lingers, a bittersweet echo in the chambers of my mind. My love, the weight of the world presses heavily upon me, and I feel compelled to share the shadows that haunt my thoughts. More grave news in the newspapers this morning that I read to Teresa. The Austrians have issued a final ultimatum to Serbia. The Europeans have gone mad. The last 3 weeks has been the most gruesome escalation of threats. Everywhere people are saying, we must have a war, and we must have it soon. It is all so ominous, like a dark spectre in one of Monty's stories. Deer Park mentioned conscription in passing, or volunteering, and the mere thought of being torn away from all that makes me happy unsettles me deeply. The progress on the next chapter of The Star Seeker has come to an abrupt halt. How can I summon the will to write of war and fighting when the real thing hovers so perilously close? I've walked through the streets of St Edmunds and I see young men, my peers, excited at the prospect of fighting Germany. All that comes to my mind are the drawings and the psalters in the Fitzwilliam, depicting the aftermath of Cressy. Bodies and bits of bodies. It haunts me. My thoughts, as ever, are consumed with a fervent desire to return to the sanctuary of Christ College and begin our second year together. Everything about the last year seems so peaceful, like an idle dream that gets ever more distant the more I stir from a slumber. The hope of our reunion sustains me through these uncertain times. I yearn for the day when I can hold you close and find solace in the love that we share. Yours, Robin.
Longwood Cottage, Ely, Cambridgeshire, 5th of August 1914.
My dearest Bobby, I pen these words with a heavy heart, the weight of the world bearing down upon me. The news of the declaration of war on Germany has left me in a state of shock and fear. How could something so dreadful unfold with such suddenness, shattering all the tranquillity of our world? I wandered the halls of Ely Cathedral yesterday after I heard the news. The place that had been the source of inspiration and delight since my childhood, and yet I felt in a daze. The tombs of the bishops, the great vaulted ceiling, all as it has always been these long centuries, and yet the world has irrevocably changed. Yet everything seems deceptively normal. It is like a man walking around, unknowingly afflicted with a fatal illness, the illusion of normality masking the impending doom. I can scarcely believe the magnitude of the events unfolding around us. Idle summers turn to harsh autumn. The thought that you, my beloved, may be forced to fight, to be torn away from me so soon after we have met, fallen in love, is too dreadful to contemplate. I confess to you, in the midst of this chaos, I am frightened, darling Bobby. I am frightened. Father is haunted by such terrible nightmares. A recurrence of the demons from his past, since the war with the Boers. Just boys, he mutters in his sleep, tossing and turning, only boys. The weight of his experiences weighs down heavily on him. I see the anguish in his eyes. Despite the uncertainty that envelops us, I find solace in the promise of our love. I pledge to you that, come what may, I will visit you soon. We will face this storm together, and in just a month's time we shall be reunited at Christ's. Hold on to the hope, my love, and let it guide us through these trying times. Yours with all my love, Marion.
Cambridge Barracks, 28th of August, 1914.
Dearest, sweetest Sheepy, I hope this letter finds you in a moment of calm amidst the tumult that surrounds us. The days that have passed since our argument weigh heavily on my heart, and I write to you now with a sense of urgency and a spirit that seeks understanding. In the wake of it all, I found myself grappling with a decision that weighs on me like a heavy burden. The spectre of war looms ever larger, and the men from our class, Park included, have volunteered for service. The pressure to join them is immense, as you must understand, not only from within, but also from the unspoken expectations of society. To refuse would be to bear the stigma of cowardice, and I cannot bear the thought of being branded as such. Father was unduly tarred as such when he was captured by the Boxers in Peking, and he died with the shame of it stuck to him. Moreover, the reports of the atrocities committed by the Germans in Belgium have left me appalled. The very monasteries and historical landmarks that you and I have spent a year studying, Marion, are now reduced to ashes, are besieged, are torn apart by artillery. The foundations of the world we hold dear are being tested, and the uncertainty of what will replace it is a weight I cannot ignore. With a heavy heart I must confess that I have volunteered for the army. The 1st Battalion of the Cambridgeshire Regiment awaits my service. We will depart from Cambridge for Dover by train on the 1st of September. It is a decision, my love, not made lightly, and I find solace only in the hope that once the fighting is done, I will return to Cambridge and rejoin you. All the men volunteering will be allowed to defer their degrees until our return. Sweet Sheepy, I ask a quiet and humble favour. Would you consider seeing me off at the train before I depart? Your presence would bring comfort in these trying times. I pledge my love to you, and as I embark on this unforeseen journey, know that my thoughts are anchored in the promise of our reunion. When I return, I will finish the Star Seeker for you, my love. Yours, with unwavering devotion, Robin.
Christ's College, Cambridge, 5th of September 1914.
My Bobby, I hope this letter finds you well, and it brings you some semblance of comfort in these times. The halls of Christ's College echo with a profound emptiness as the second year begins, a void left by the absence of so many of our fellow scholars. The start of this academic year has been remarkably quiet and sombre. The laughter, the camaraderie that once filled the air has been replaced by a palpable sadness. The vibrancy of our university seems to have dulled, and I find myself yearning for the days when our beloved friends were still with us. Oh, to be back in 1913, those glorious idle autumn days on the quad. Your absence is keenly felt, my love. The news of your paper on the Wilton diptych being well received was a bittersweet moment. It will be published in the University Journal on Medieval History, a testament to your scholarly prowess. I wish desperately that you could be here to share in this success, but I understand that your thoughts are far from the world of academia at this moment. Seeing you off at the station remains etched in my memory, and though my heart aches at the distance between us, I want you to know that, irrespective of my views on the war, I believe you are a brave man. No coward. History may be a distant concern now, but your academic achievements stand as testament to your intellect and your choices in this last month, a testament to your courage. The news of the fighting at Mons and the Marne has reached all of us here. The horror of it all, far removed from that chivalrous joust of your novel. It's so horrible, my love. Please, darling Bobby, stay safe. Do not feel the need to be a hero. This is not the noble quest you write about. This is human evil and a thing of dread. The doctors are optimistic about Teresa's recovery still. Your mother and my parents send their love, as does Monty, who is heartsick at all his boys from the chit-chat being so suddenly gone. I eagerly anticipate the day when we can welcome you back to Cambridge, whole and unharmed. Until then, my thoughts are with you, and I pray for your safety. Yours with all my love, Marion. From the desk of Dr. Vernon, Christ's College, Cambridge, 26th of February 2024. A note before we continue to the transcriptions of the later letters found in Professor Shepherd's collection. A sizable gap exists in the correspondences between Marion and Robin, amounting to around 3 years, and it seems from the content of the later missives that there was no breakdown in the communication between the two. On the contrary, their discussion indicates that they remained intimately in contact with one another for the duration of Robin's service. It is all the more puzzling, then, that no letters exist from after September 1914, right as Robin seems poised to become embroiled in the Battle of the Frontiers, that would ossify the western strike of the German forces into the morass of the trenches, until June 1917. I have independently cross-referenced the military records of one Captain Robin Yates of 1st Battalion, the Cambridgeshire Regiment, who I think must be our Robin, and can attest that the poor fellow remained at the Western Front for the entire span of time, barring temporary respites in England. All I can theorise is that, given the contents of the letters that do survive, and all the extraordinary matters they pertain to, Darling Bobby's descriptions of the horror he endured were simply too painful for even as fastidious an anarchist the Professor was to keep, and that they were either disposed of at the time or else hidden away to be out of sight and then later lost. We can only guess as to their contents now. We resume the letters then, on the eve of the Battle of Passchendaele. Ypres, Belgium, 25th of June 1917. Marion, I write to you from the place where the devil lives. This is the place where the world is twisted, and the soul has been killed. I could write 1,000 years, and could not convey the nightmare of this place. The senses are dulled. All is horror, horror, horror. Mudd claimed Deacon's today. Trapped in it for 3 days. He went mad and was raving. I am the captain now, since Kincaid died. Duty bound me to put an end to the man's suffering. 1 shot to the head, and the wretch was dead, and all that he was destroyed. Someone's baby once. Now he does not exist. It is a horrid thing to see a man die and become an empty thing. There is no beauty in corpses. Park's body emerged from the trench wall again. Dead 6 months. He keeps popping out. Like one of Monty's apparitions, but 10,000 times ghastlier. Monty's ghosts are gentle things. Park is the end of the world. Park wrote that wonderful paper on St. Botolph's Church. Park is rotten meat now, and full of worms. Chest burst open now. Rat the size of a cat feasting in his rib cage. Rat looks at me. No, it will eat me soon too. God does not live here. He has abandoned the earth to the rats and the rat men and turns away in shame. I attempt to summon memories of Cambridge, the Salters and the Fitzwilliam, the warmth of your kiss by the Bridge of Sighs, but they feel distant like fragments of a dream. They slip through my fingers. The stench of decay Constant drone shells overhead. Mud, blood, shit, human entrails. What is man? Man is a thing of poetry, I know that now. Words make man. Here man is unmade, turned into so much flesh. Unfeeling flesh, broken flesh, torn flesh, dead flesh. Love you, Marion. Pure thing, good thing. So wanted to be your husband. I keep the ring around my neck. I want them to bury me with it, not steal it off me when I am killed. I want to be with Teresa. I am glad she died before the trenches. She was too sweet, too gentle, too good. I shall die too. I shall die. I shall die. Darkness. Darkness encroaching, everywhere darkness. King Death rules this world. When he finds me here, I implore you, burn the manuscript for the Star Seeker. Futile to finish it. All words are lost in the end, so there is no point in writing them at all in the first instance. No point to any of it. No point at all. I shall die. I shall die. I shall die and the rat will eat me. Robin.
Christ's College, Cambridge, 1st of July 1917.
Bobby, I implore you to hear me, to truly listen to any echo of my heart you hear in these words. I categorically refuse to give you permission to die. You are a beacon of humanity, a soul too fine to be extinguished in the mire of war. The very act of volunteering to fight was born out of your horror at the destruction of the old world. This, my Bobby, must mean that the world is worth preserving and fighting for and living for. You have too much to give, too much life left unlived. You are not just flesh, you are alive, and while there is life, there is hope. Your mother cannot bear the weight of losing another child. Cambridge cannot afford to lose so fine a scholar, and I cannot endure the loss of the only man I shall ever love. In your story, in The Star Seeker, Princess Serona defies her father, King Eryxis, to quest for a fallen star. She knows there is beauty in the world, and she refuses to see it fall into evil hands. If you ever truly believed in the words you wrote, then remember this. You are not just a body, mere rude matter, but a soul brimming with life and hope. I will not destroy it. In those pages lie the embodiment of your belief in the enduring beauty of the world. You must still believe in that wonder, even if all around you is so dark, so wretched. Live, my Bobby. Live for yourself, for your mother, for Cambridge, for us, and for the beauty that still exists in this world. I love you. I love you. Marion.
Passchendaele, Belgium, 5th of July 1917.
Dearest Marion, I am alive. Your letter has kept me alive. We are at Passchendaele now. I need your help, Marion. I do not know what I have seen. Yesterday, another fruitless attack on the Germans. All so dreadful. Leading men to be shot down is a burden that sits heavily on my soul. Watching boys be shot down defies all reason. Responsibility dreadful. Boys, just boys. What I write to you next is beyond reason, beyond the boundaries of what the mind can grasp. Late last night, I took over night watch on our trench. An uncanny quiet settled over the battlefield. The big guns fell silent, the air filled with eerie stillness. It was as if everything was losing focus. I was afraid. I thought some new poison gas without shape or colour had rolled over us. But then I looked up, and there, against the black expanse of the sky, unfolded a vision. that defies explanation. A titanic hunting party tore across the heavens. Raucous cavalcade of ghostly figures, roaring men on horseback with spears drawn. It lasted mere moments, but the vividness and reality of what I witnessed are undeniable. It was like a scene from a psalter, a king and his retainers on the hunt, banners flying. I know not what to make of this, Marion. The French all speak of the angels of Mons, from the first year of the war, but what I experienced last night goes beyond any rumour. I fear that I am losing my mind, that the horrors of this war have driven me to the brink of sanity. Nothing makes sense anymore. I dream of Cambridge and weep. I am off the edge of the map, and here there be dragons. I turn to you, your knowledge, your reason, to help me understand what I have seen. I have always trusted in your wisdom to guide me, and now, more than ever, I need your insights to navigate the shadows that encroach upon my mind. Help me, my love. Help me. Robin.
Christ's College, Cambridge, 8th of July 1917.
Dearest Bobby, your letter reached me at Christ's, and the turmoil within your words has left me with a heavy heart. The horrors of France seem to have no end, and I can only hope that my words bring some solace to you, even if just a momentary respite from the madness that surrounds you. I remain here, having completed the 3rd year, and intend to stay another year to complete my postgraduate studies. It pains me deeply to think of nearly finishing my studies without you by my side. The whole quad has echoed with the hollowness of your absence, the absence of all our fine young men that are gone, all gone. Monty's suggestion led me to the Fitzwilliam, where I found a drawing in the 14th century Psalters, depicting Charlemagne and his knights engaged in the wild hunt, a ghostly procession led by a spectral king. What you described aligns with this folklore motif of a pursuit led by a king and his psychopomp attendants. I believe, my love, that your mind is recalling the images you studied in your 1st year, now manifesting them due to the unbearable stress of your command. I do not doubt the reality of what you have seen, Robin. I implore you to stay strong. In just a few weeks you are due to return to England on leave, and we will be reunited. The thought of seeing you again sustains me through these trying times. Hold on to hope, my love. The strength within you will guide you out of this darkness. Yours, with unwavering love, Marion.
Passchendaele, Belgium, 12th of July 1917.
Dearest Marion, your research brought me some semblance of clarity, and for that I am eternally grateful. However, what I have to convey now surpasses even the surreal occurrences of my previous letters. The words I pen to you carry with them a weight that defies explanation, and I can only hope that you receive them with the understanding they deserve. Another futile attack. I became separated from my battalion, stumbling through the desolation of no man's land. The mud clung to me, and the world seemed an endless expanse of desolation. It was then that I witnessed it. A phenomenon beyond the bounds of reason. A strange cloud of green mist rolling across the battlefield. It drew close to enveloping me. I scrambled for my mask, but then the same otherworldly effect occurred as the sound of shells ceased to fall, and the world around me blurred into an indistinct haze. The uncanny silence was broken only by the distant rumble of hooves, a sound I thought impossible on this cursed ground. The cavalry regiment met their demise a week ago, and yet I swear, the echoes of their charge, or the charge of other horses, resonated from within that mist. Fearing a gas attack, my men and I retreated hastily back to the trenches, the lingering sensation of that green mist haunting my every thought. What perplexes me most is the overwhelming urge I felt to walk toward it, the compulsion that terrified me to my core. The wild hunt now races through my mind every night, the vivid images from the Psalters looming before me. I am haunted by a fear that if I do not return to England now, I may never come back. Marion, the mysteries that unfold on this accursed battlefield defy all reason. I am desperate for your insights, for your wisdom to guide me through this uncharted place. The world here seems to be unravelling, and I fear I may lose myself in its depths. I am afraid, my love. Robin.
Christ's College, Cambridge, 15th of July 1917.
Bobby. My Bobby. The words of your last letter have haunted my every waking moment. I feel so helpless. I am here and you are there. I reach out to you through ink and paper, but I cannot hold you, cannot love you, cannot see your face. Please, I implore you, stay safe. Keep away from the green mist. Keep away from the sound of the hooves. My father has written to Major Styles. They were at Mafeking together, urging him to consider granting you leave early. The strain you endure on the front lines is evident, and my heart aches at the thought of you enduring further torment. Every night I am alone at Christ's, weeping for what the world has done to you. I fear for you, Robin. The uncertainty of your fate gnaws at my soul. In the quiet moments I have sought solace in the Star Seeker. Its pages are filled with such joy and life and adventure as when you first read them to me. They offer a respite from the cruelty that shadows our lives now. You have just the last chapter to write, my love. Live to see it completed, and then marry me. Hold on to the promise we made, of a future that we dreamed together. I beg you, darling Bobby, to find the strength to continue to endure. We will face whatever shadows lie ahead, but you must live to write the final chapter and be with me, be with your sheepy who loves you with all her heart. Yours with fervent prayers for your safety, Marion.
Passchendaele, Belgium, 19th of July 1917.
Sweet sheepy, I pen this letter to you, my love. I beg for your forgiveness, for I have strayed from your counsel, succumbing to a force that defies all reason. The revelations I am about to share with you are beyond the realms of comprehension, and I pray that you find it within your heart to understand, as you have always understood the foolish things that I do. We went over the top again yesterday. I sought out the mysterious green mist I told you of. Following the strange compulsion that gripped me, I walked through it, and to my absolute astonishment, found myself transported to a place beyond imagination. A lush forest, adorned with towering trees and wildflowers. Such verdant surroundings, it all seemed hyper-real, a dazzling idyll. It transcended the boundaries of earthly beauty. You should have seen the colours, my love. I wandered for what felt like hours, my soul at peace, as if I was strolling by the backs at Cambridge, with you by my side. In the distance I saw horses, grazing in a valley, men with long hair, riders adorned in robes. The attire resembled the depictions in the Psalters. I am convinced that I have glimpsed the 8th century. I stepped back in time to the days of Charlemagne in the heart of the Ardennes. It was the Emperor and his retainers I saw in the sky, the sound of their horses' hooves that I heard. They were calling to me. The old world was calling to me. As the mist began to return, I felt a sense of urgency, a fear that my journey could be cut short, and just as swiftly as I had entered that beautiful place, I found myself back in the cold, grim trenches. My heart trembled at the thought of a court-martial for my inexplicable disappearance. But to my astonishment, I discovered that almost no time had passed for the men in my battalion. Marion, I am convinced that I have stumbled upon a way to slip through the veil of time itself, a portal to the past. The horrors of the trenches have become unbearable, and I find solace in the prospect of escaping through the mist the next time I go over the top. I am sorry, my love. but I cannot endure another moment in this hellish place. Life has no meaning in this world now, but it does long ago. I have wanted to live in the past all my life. If I stay here, I will never feel happiness again. If I return to you, it will be as a broken, damaged thing. I cannot have you be sad. You are too sweet, my lovely sheepy. Oh, what an angel you are. How happy you have made me. I have not ignored your other request of me. The final chapter of The Star Seeker I have written in shorthand and enclosed it with this letter. Thank you for not destroying the manuscript, my love. Keep the story to yourself or share it with the world. Whatever you choose will be the correct decision. My story does not belong to me anymore. I am full of peace. You will live an amazing life, my dearest Marion. Do not feel sad for me. It is all so wonderful, this world. Know that I love you. I will love you for all of time. Yours for as long as life endures. Bobby.
Telegram Office, Cambridge, 7th of August 1917.
Major Shepherd, stop. Longwood, stop. Ely, stop. Come to Christ's at once, stop. Marion in collapse, stop. Telegram from front this morning, stop. Robin killed, stop. Says she will die if you do not come, stop. V urgent, stop. Styles, stop.
Ypres, Belgium, 30th of August 1917.
Dear Miss Shepherd, I hope this letter finds you in as much peace as possible given the circumstances. I apologise if my words intrude on your grief, and please forgive the untardiness of my writing. I am not an educated man like Captain Yates was. All the men under Captain Yates's command loved and respected him. You are a kind man, never willing to squander our lives needlessly. His stories on Night Watch were the best, and we would fight to stay alive just to hear the next part of his tales. It was an honour to serve under him. I regret to inform you of the circumstances surrounding Captain Yates's death on 31st July, which were rather unusual. On that day, during a gas attack, the captain walked calmly out of the trenches. Many thought he had lost his mind. The last I saw of him, he vanished into a green cloud, just as we all ducked and put our gas masks on. We found his body 3 days later, while laying barbed wire. He was shot once through the head. He would have died instantly. However, the condition of his body were peculiar. It seemed as though he had aged, with long hair and a beard. He were not in his uniform, but adorned in a cloak and a strange tunic. I cannot explain this, nor do I have any wish to understand it. I have seen too many frightful and queer things in this war, but I feel it is something Captain Yates wanted you to know about his passing. He asked me to write you should he die, just a few days before he did, to tell you exactly how it had come about. He spoke of you every day, Miss Shepherd, and the thought of you kept him alive through the darkest moments. He loved you more than any man has loved his sweetheart. Please accept my condolences on behalf of all the men who served with him. Enclosed with this letter are Captain Yates's personal effects. I wish you strength and solace in the days ahead. Yours sincerely, Private Arthur King, 2nd Battalion, Yorkshire Rifles.
From the desk of Dr. Vernon, Christ's College, Cambridge, 26th February 2024.
So ends the narrative of Professor Shepherd's letters, as contained within the collection found within her bureau. As I set down the final letter from Private King, the first dim orange tendrils from the sunrise were creeping into my room, the chirping of birds as they woke to greet the day. I stared at the opposite wall for a long time, at the professor's cabinet, the secret compartment still hanging open and empty, its contents disgorged. I didn't know what to think. I still don't know even now as I write this. The sights and sounds described by Robin are beyond belief. Surely the products of a fraying and overstimulated mind, and yet the curious circumstances of his death and the condition of his body give pause, and in that pause lives a teeming sea of dragons, snapping and snarling and lurking off the edge of the knowable world. I can confirm the basic details of the story. Captain Robin Yates is indeed listed as having been killed on 31st July 1917 in the first actions of the Battle of Passchendaele. He is buried at the British Cemetery in Ypres, marked with a simple white cross like all the thousands of others. There is no adornment or mention to suggest what a remarkable man lies there. We can only imagine the depth of the grief, the anguish Marion must have endured. In even this scattered snapshot of her life, it is clear the affection she and Robin had for each other. To wrench them apart is a cruelty that I must confess has brought me to the edge of tears. It is easy to be haunted by what Robin Yates could have been had he led a career as full and accomplished as Marion Shepherd's, not only as an academic but as an author too. It was heartening to learn, through further research, that Yates's fantasy novel The Star Seeker was indeed published in 1925, although it is out of print today, much like Shepherd's academic writing. I was eventually able to obtain a copy through a dealer in obscure books, the sort of person who is gratifyingly commonplace in Cambridge, and I believe it may have been Shepherd's own copy, given the handwriting on the inner leaf, a dedication to a niece of hers, I believe. It's a simple fantasy, really, about a princess who goes in search of a fallen star, aided by an able gang of misfits. Standard fare, and hardly a forerunner for The Hobbit. But I was charmed by it, and if I can make it live a little longer in this world by reading it to my daughters, I can think of no finer tribute to the writer. They say a man dies 2 deaths. First when his body dies, and second when his name is spoken for the last time, and his memory fades from the world. This is the great necromancy of history, to conjure from oblivion people who have once lived and breathed and loved, and make them, if only for a moment, live again in our hearts and in our memories. What Professor Shepherd made of the strange nature of Bobby's death is elusive. Further study of the Bureau turned up no other hidden compartments, no other stores of letters to her father or her colleagues, or anyone else that ever mentioned her dear Bobby again. We are left with educated guesswork, never the most reliable friend of the historian, but one which can draw out of dry fact and written testimony the ghost of a deeper, more meaningful truth. Marion Shepherd graduated with a master's degree in medieval history from Christ College in September of 1918, aged 22, just 2 months before the armistice that ended the First World War. She seems to have thrown herself into an academic career with tremendous gusto, for within a year she had organised the first of several expeditions from the university to Belgium to begin the work of recovering and identifying manuscripts from the battlefields of the war. It is here that we can speculate on her motivations, and in them tease out hints, perhaps, on her thoughts on the fate of her fiancé. Bobby's specialism had been manuscripts, so it could be in tribute to his unfinished work that Shepherd embarked on her great effort to preserve what tattered shreds remained of the old world he had so loved. But her single-minded pursuit of rare Carolingian texts, a specific and obscure subset, may give us pause. If what Bobby said in his last letter can be believed, that he had somehow found some rend in the fabric of time, back to the days of the Emperor Charlemagne, could the condition of his body suggest that he was successful in passing through that rend? That he had lived for years in the past, had aged, adapted to his new surroundings, only to later stumble back through the mist and be killed in the trenches? The time dilation he experienced is certainly in keeping with the latest scientific understanding of quantum mechanics, the breakdown in the relativity of time and space, or so my colleague Dr. Hussain of Sydney Sussex College attempted to explain to me. It may be more fantasy and Private King mistaken, but that does not preclude the idea that Professor Shepherd believed it, and clung to it, and stayed clinging to it for the remaining 55 years of her life. Could it be possible that the professor was searching for these manuscripts not just to preserve them, but to find in them a trace, some confirmation that her beloved had indeed made it through the other side of the green mist, had lived his idyll a while before he met his end? Rare was the family that didn't lose someone in the First World War. Mothers lost sons, sweethearts lost their true loves. Everyone coped in their own way, finding comfort in seances or politics or postmodernist art. If I truly understand the type of person Professor Shepherd was, I would not be surprised if she scoffed at all that and thought it pure hokum. History was her comfort, as was, I wager, the notion that somewhere, long ago, Bobby Yates was alive and happy. There is a final, curious postscript to this bittersweet tale. The most notable item of Professor Shepherd's to be entered into the collections of the Fitzwilliam upon her death was a unique scrapbook, a folio of fragmented manuscripts which she had rescued over the decades of her research. There is one particular entry among these which stands out to me, having read the letters, as it did to the old fellow from Gonville and Caius, who noticed it at once when he was able to get a look at the folio in Shepherd's office, before she snatched it away and returned it gently to her bureau with a sigh. It is a page from a 14th century psalter, containing a fragment of a verse poem of the ilk of the Song of Roland. It consists of just 2 lines in Latin, which Shepherd rendered in her notes as follows. Haec sunt facta Robinus audax, miles fortis, signifer imperatoris, qui latis fuit et maximas narravit fabulas, numquam iterum similem eos vidibimus. As translated by Professor Shepherd, these are the deeds of Robin the Bold, the valiant knight, the standard-bearer of the Emperor, he who was joyful and told the greatest stories. We will never see his like again. Here There Be Dragons was written and performed by Isaac Hart. The music was by Kevin MacLeod. The script editor was Jennifer Rianne Bartley. Ghost in the Museum will return with a new original story on the 25th of March. Thank you for listening. May we meet again.